Okay, what's going on with Canada? This is what's going on with Canada right now. Okay, what's going on with Canada is that we are having issues with the Prime Minister. Is the Prime Minister actually in trouble? I think so. He's in trouble because he can't face up to Trump. What does that mean? Well, he can't face up to Trump because, frankly, Canada hasn't been able to come up with a deal. No deal with Canada. And that's a problem for Canada. Why? Well, because originally what they wanted to do is they essentially wanted to have they wanted to make a deal with the U.S., but they were not able to. They were not able to because Trump says no. Trump says, I want my money. I want all of my money. I want my $300 billion. And that's what's happening right now. Trump is collecting $300 billion and he's going to be collecting a lot more money. He's going to be collecting $2 to $3 trillion over the next 10 years with all of these tariffs. So don't tell me that it's working. In addition, today, I don't know if you've seen in the Wall Street Journal, but basically, Canada PM Carney signals that the U.S. tariffs may be here to stay. So what does that mean? Well, it essentially means that Canada doesn't have a leg to stand on. It doesn't. Canada 75% of its exports is to the U.S. That is not good. That is not good at all. Why? They rely on the U.S. to export everything, most of what they have. So you can't just replace that like that. It takes a while. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I come to you every day, and I basically explain to you what's going on in the economy. Why? Because I want to provide advice to you. I want to show you what's happening. I want to explain to you what is happening. And more importantly, I want you to make money. I want my subscribers to make money. I have a Patreon channel, and there I'm making some very interesting stock picks, especially when it comes down to small company stocks. You want to take a look at the small company stocks right now. Companies with market cap of less than $2 billion. They're very cheap right now. They're very cheap. Why not? Why not take advantage of them? You want to take advantage of them because they are very cheap. Now, as far as Canada is concerned, the Canadian Prime Minister is saying it himself that we're going to have to pay those tariffs. And Trump knows it. The question is, why did he do it? Why wasn't it done before? It's so easy. You just say, you know what? 50% tariff, 70% tariff, 20% tariffs. That's what Trump is doing right now. He's doing it because it's working. And it's working now because he's got the power. The market is up. Remember, the market crashed for a while, right? It was a huge crash because of the tariffs. But then all that went away. Everybody became friends. And so the market is looking at this and saying, you know what, the guy's right. Now, be careful. And this is where this channel becomes important to you. Because what happens next? What is going to happen next? Already, if you look at yesterday's CPI, and inflation, it did not go down. In fact, it went up a little bit. I'll do a special video on inflation, but basically, inflation might not be under control after all. And they asked that to Trump. He was on a tarmac. He said, what do you think? No. It's still going to go down. Don't worry about it. Let's hope so. Because if you're pressuring the Fed to lower rates while you have inflation, you might have a double whammy on your hand, and they may not end well for everyone, especially in the stock market. The market went down 400 points yesterday. The Dow was down 400 points just because inflation wasn't under control. So, my dear subscribers, what you want to do right now, you want to watch this situation very carefully for your job, for your and also for your portfolio. Market is up in the U.S. Well, yeah, it's up, but not to the extent as Europe. Europe is doing much better. Europe is up 15-20% year over year. The U.S. is just catching up. And is just about to catch up when we are seeing inkling of, forget the economy, because right now it's still strong. And inflation is not out of control, obviously. It depends where you want to put your chips. But right now, inflation seems to be a little bit off track. Yesterday was 2.9 versus 2.7, so that means that inflation is not going down. Let's put it this way. Now, it all depends what you think happens next. If you feel that inflation is under control, then the stock market is booming. There's a lot more. Now, when I say booming, be careful, because right now, with a P ratio of 37, it is almost as expensive as in 2000. In fact, I'm going to do a video on the AI boom versus the tech boom of 2000. And you will find out that we are overvalued technically. We are at the highest. Take a look at the Shiller P ratio. We are at the highest level in a while for P ratio. So basically, it means that investors are willing to spend $37 for each dollars of earning. And that's a lot. We've never spent that much except in 2000. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, the reason they're spending that much money is because we're expecting a lot of growth. Okay, then let's see the growth. Let's see how much growth we're going to see. Because if we don't get that growth, then we're overvalued. And then if on top of that, we're seeing inflation, because technically we should be seeing inflation, although I will say the reason you're not seeing inflation right now is, first of all, the tariffs have started to kick in, but the wholesalers are not really moving the prices down because they had pre-purchased everything. So I think you probably know that by now. But I think also that even at the retailing level, they're a little bit concerned that if they're going to pass those costs to consumer, Trump may not like it and may go after you and may damage your image. Therefore, they may not want to do that right now unless it becomes too much and they're pushed to do so. And then you're going to see inflation kicking in. But right now, no one is going to move against Trump until he has the power. And he has the power. Where does he get his power from? He gets his power from MAGA. He gets his power from the big, beautiful bill. He gets his power from the 5% NATO, the 5% NATO the defense that they had to spend as opposed to the 1% they used to spend. He got the power from the Israel, Iran. So right now he's got the wind behind him and he's pushing him forward, and he's using it very effectively. And he's telling you, listen, you want to do business with the U.S., and don't forget, the U.S. is 25% of GDP worldwide. You cannot avoid the U.S. right now. So he's making as much as he can right now. So he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's working. Right? Even Canada today said, you know what? I don't think we're going to be able to avoid the tariffs. We're going to have to find a way around it. Politically, they say, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, you got to pay. You have no choice but to pay right now. What I'm more concerned about is the long term for my subscribers. I'm concerned that at some point your portfolio is going to get hit. Why? Well, it's going to get hit because inflation is going to come back at some point, either naturally or unnaturally, meaning that the wholesalers and the retailers are going to push it down because they don't fear Trump anymore. As soon as he loses the power, because right now Trump is holding this whole house of cards together. He's out there every day talking. Everybody wants to hear what he has to say. He's out there talking, making deals, making money, stopping wars, and congratulating this person, moving this person aside. It's working. The only thing is it short-term gain for long-term pain? Of course, depends who you're talking to, right? If you're on the right side, you say, this is great. No, everything's going to be fine. On the left, you say, well, just wait. You'll see everything is going to collapse eventually. Like they say, oh, look, tariffs are inflationary. So these people sold themselves short by talking like that because now they have no credibility. In fact, the Wall Street Journal came up with a survey of 67 economists, and they say, you know what, the U.S. economy is not that bad. I said, but I thought you said the whole thing was going to collapse. And in fact, the market collapsed. In fact, the 10-year yield went up. It looks like the consumer is spending. It doesn't look like we have any inflation. Then you're missing out the boat on the stock market. But I will tell you, this is different from last year because not only we're paying a lot for this stock market, but we are overvalued. We are at the mercy of anything going wrong. What could go wrong? I mean, Trump is having lots of balls in the air. He's playing around with the tariffs and inflation. He wants a new Fed chair. And the market is already assuming, that this new Fed chair, which we haven't seen yet, is going to come in and is going to actually lower rates. So the market is already looking for lower rates, even though we we don't have a Fed chair. I mean, it's amazing. So they're moving fast. In fact, because don't forget, this current Fed chair is ending in May of 2026. He's already looking a new guy, and they're already looking past him. Not only is the Trump is looking past it, but the market is looking past him. Everyone is looking past the chair. So what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is the market is going to go up and up and up, unless something happens, and I mean anything. It could be the economy. It could be this Epstein thing. The MAGA people didn't like that at all. The MAGA people also didn't like the Iran-Israel situation when Trump went in there and started to spend some, bombing these people and decided that this was going to be it and I'm going to stop the war. And said, wait a minute, what are you doing here? We said we're not going to get into it. Or even 2 days ago when Trump decided to send missiles to Ukraine. The MAGA people again came back and said, what are you doing? This is not our war. We're not supposed to be in this war. What are you doing? He said, no, I'm not sending the missile. I am giving the missiles, right? But they're paying for it. So I'm not really giving. I'm just selling the missiles to them. But that's not really true, right? Because at the end of the day, when you send the equipment over to Ukraine, what do you think is happening? You do need U.S. soldiers and technologists to go out and work with the Ukrainian to help them use the weapons. I mean, you can't just, it's not a box you ship over. You have to explain how it works. So the U.S. is involved in that war. And the MAGA people says, no, that wasn't something we wanted to do, frankly. We did not want to do that. So be careful, because if you lose the MAGA, if you lose the power, if you lose control, then it's going to be very difficult for you to make any more decision. And this whole thing works for only one condition, is that Trump is able to control the entire process. How long is he going to be able to do it? Well, if he loses the MAGA people, that's going to be more difficult. You haven't seen the vice president lately, have you? Right? The reason you're not seeing him is because he basically he's a MAGA guy, and he basically contradicted Trump when it came to the 800 pound of uranium. He said, well, we don't know if we've destroyed everything, quite frankly. So be careful, because you could carry this for so long, but after a while, you're going to drop one of those balls. It's going to be a problem. Inflation could come back. We could get back into the Iran and Israel war as well. That could happen as well. So lots of things could happen. So be careful. Be careful, because not everything is controllable and not everything is doable. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. The reason you want to subscribe to this channel is because I am looking for a black swan. What is a black swan? A black swan is an event that no one sees coming, and that will impact the markets, that will impact the portfolio, and that will impact your job. So you need to understand what's happening. Not so much the news, because everybody gets news all day long, right? What you want to know what's really going on. For example, I'll give you Iran, Israel, right? So what happened there? Basically, they wanted to do the atomic bomb to destroy Israel. Well, actually, what they want is they want to collect $2 trillion for making the bomb. It's all about money. This whole thing is about money, and power. And Netanyahu wanted to remain in power. That's why he did all these wars. The mullahs want to build the atomic bomb so they could make $2 trillion for themselves. They did very well, thank you. Trump is not about trying to punish Canada because of fentanyl over the border. No, Trump is doing it because he wants to collect the money. And that is what you need to understand. That is what you need to grasp. That is what this channel is about. And I take lots of topics every day because there are lots of topics. And I realize that the news is not really telling you what's going on. They're telling you what they want you to know. And obviously, if you're going to listen to Bloomberg, you know that they're not going to be very gentle to Trump. If you listen to the Wall Street Journal, on the other hand, if you go to Fox Business, and they love Trump. Okay, but where is the middle here? We need a middle. We need to know what's happening because you need to know what's happening because they are doing quite fine. Very much. Thank you very much. Trump is going to be fine. Bloomberg is going to be fine. Everybody's going to be fine. What about you? And this is my concern, right? So right now, what we're talking about is a Canada Prime Minister. And is he backing up to Trump? Of course he's backing up. You have no choice. Why? Because 75% of the export from Canada goes to the U.S. And of course, he didn't have to do it. Why is he doing it? Well, he's doing it because he's not in it for the money himself. He's in it for the glory, for his name, right? In the past, presidents and other prime minister, they need a job after this, right? So they have to be careful what they say. And again, they are guided by money consideration. They are guided by profit because eventually this guy Carney, when he leaves, he say, "Well, I was prime minister. I made some contacts. Now I want to work for a hedge fund or whatever, or equity." I mean, look at where the former Treasury Secretary works. He works for a hedge fund or private equity. You know what I mean? So these people are looking after. This is just a stepping stone. But for Trump, it's not. For Trump, this is it. This is his call to glory. This is how he's going to be remembered. So therefore, he wants to make sure that that's how he wants to do. And that's why it's tough to predict and work with someone like that because he's not playing fair, I guess. Why would you do that to the Canadian people? They loved us so much. Why couldn't you keep it? No, don't forget one thing as well. I mean, I'm saying that we're going to charge, the US is going to charge Canada 25 to 50% tariffs, but you have to understand that 80% of the stuff that they send into the US is under the Canada-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. So it's not impacting. So the impact to Canada is kind of minor. And this is where, if you're Trump, you should think about it twice because you're doing it right. You're upsetting the Canadians, and they're not to come into the U.S. And you're still not making a big dent in terms of tariffs because they are protected under the current trade agreement. Unless he decides to do away with the current trade agreement, that's going to be tough, right? So 80% of the 80% of what they have is tied to this. So that's not a big deal for the Canadian right now. That's why he could. That's why the Canadian Prime Minister says, you know what, I can't deal with this guy. Let him have it. Let him do his thing. Who cares? But for you, what you want to know is you try to understand what's happening, and what's happening right now is the U.S. is going to collect $300 billion this year. Don't forget to join this channel as I am looking out for my subscribers all the time. I'm looking for what is of interest. I'm looking what could potentially happen in the stock market, in your daily lives. And I have a Patreon channel where I basically, it's free. And I basically show you, for example, I have a couple of, there's a gold company in there that also happens to do rare earth minerals. Stock is up 40% since I recommended it, I think, last week. Why? It's rare earth mineral. What is rare earth minerals? Well, basically, that's the stuff that essentially forced the deal with with China. We need rare earth mineral. Why? Because that's what goes into weapons. And don't forget, I have about 5 risks that I'm worried about. The tariff is one thing. We're trying to understand it every day, and I think we probably have control over the tariffs for now. 2 is inflation. That's still a question. 3 is recession. I'm not too concerned about recession right now. 4 is the Israel and Iran war. That's, I mean, Israel is doing some damage right now in Syria, but Trump is too busy right now. But at some point, he's going to go back. He's going to get back in there. In addition to war, we also have the China-Taiwan war. You have to be very careful because that could develop into something very nasty at some point. Although China has no interest in getting any type of war or situation with Taiwan, but be careful because if you lose Taiwan, you lose the chips manufacturing capability. So you have to be extremely careful. Okay? So, and number 5, obviously, that big, beautiful bill. You're going to see it coming through. You're going to see the impact. So these are lots of changes. And if I would do a 6 and a 7, I would say the dollar, you have to worry about the dollar losing its dominance, and I would be worried about the national debt. All of these things you need to worry about. But not only worry, but understand. And this is what this channel is about. I come to you over and over and explain to you one item at a time. I give you updates. And of course, I'm also looking for interesting opportunity in the stock market. And right now, the opportunity are in the small company stocks. Lots of great opportunities because they're very cheap right now, and no one wants them. The reason why no one wants to buy small caps, which is market caps of less than 2 billion, is because there's concern that high interest rate is not so good for small companies. That's one thing. Second, these tends not to be tech companies. They tend to be industrial, and they tend to be banks and things like that. A little bit boring. But when you look at the average P ratio around 5, 6, or 7, I think maybe 10, and the market is at 37, and the performance since the beginning of the year hasn't been very good for these companies, then what I would do, I would look at them. I would focus on what's going on with the small companies. And if you join my Patreon channel, you will find out. What else is going on for you right now? So August 1st, 35% tariff. Trump has announced a 35% tariff on certain Canadian imports not covered under USMCA. A sharp escalation from the existing 25% rate. I think that what Trump is doing is he realizes that the Canadian imports not covered under USMCA is 80%. So 20% is not covered. So he's trying to do an average, right? Instead of 25%, it would be nice 25%, 100%, but I'm probably better off 35% on the 20% that remains. Still not making a lot, but at least it's something. This move is part of Trump's wider plan to shake up global trade. Well, yeah, he's shaking it up, all right, but what's going to be the long-term impact? That's what you need to worry about. And join this channel so I could explain to you all the risk currently in the system. And Swing Guy, there's a lot. There's a lot of risk in the system right now, Swing Guy, and thanks for saying hi. There's a lot of risk in the system, and they're going after. The issue that we're having, obviously, is that Trump is extremely, extremely volatile in what he does. But I would to say it is working. I mean, he's collecting money on the money is being collected on the tariffs. You may like it or not, it is being collected. Okay, we're talking $300 billion, $300 billion in tariffs, 2.5 trillion over the next 10 years. So what's wrong with that? With this governor, with this Spartacus says, and with this government, we are doomed, unfortunately. Well, I mean, you're not doomed right now. Everything is great right now. The market is up, 300 billion, 2.5 trillion. Stop the war. I don't know if you saw the interview yesterday with the NATO guy, or the day before, the guy that called him daddy. I mean, he was saying basically, for now, yes, I agree. They were saying that Trump is the U.S. is the most powerful country in the world. This is the head of NATO. He loves it. Well, the worst is yet to come. Yes, you don't want to wish the worst, but that's a lot of balls in the air that Trump is managing in the process. And I mean, can you control the economy? Can you control inflation? Can you control what Israel is going to do, what they want to do, what all these people want to do? And then yesterday you start poking the Russian bear by basically telling Russia that, you know what, we're not giving weapons to Ukraine. We're going to sell them the weapons. Okay. And you're poking also the MAGA people, the people that put you in power, right? You're upsetting them. And there was supposed to be a list, the Epstein list, and now there is no more list. And frankly, I was reading a recent article in the Wall Street Journal, a little bit biased away from Trump, but basically they were saying that his lawyer basically saying, listen, there is no list. Okay, there is no list of the clients. No. So it's a lot about nothing, but for some reason she said there was a list and then there was no list. And this is something that the MAGA people wanted to show. They wanted to demonstrate the results. And for some reason now it's not. The MAGA people did not like what happened with, they didn't like what happened with the Israeli-Iran war. That was not a good thing. Because Trump got involved and they really didn't want that. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful with everything that's happening right now because, frankly, this could go many ways. This could go many ways. As far as Canada, I'm not too worried about Canada, because, and you know why? Is because 80% of their 80% of what they do is basically covered under the North American Free Trade Agreement, the North Mexican Free Trade Agreement. So I'm not too concerned. Can this go south? Can this go sideways? It's possible. It's possible because what's going to happen is Canada is slowly moving away from the US. And that is a concern over long term. It's concern for you if you're in the US. It's concern for you if you're in the US, working in the US and having a portfolio in the US, because all these countries are realizing that Trump is not reliable. That if we could use tariff, and not that he's the first one to do it, but he's the first one that's doing it effectively. And the way you do it effectively is by basically, saying, listen, you're doing 75% of your business with me, so therefore you're going to pay me. Otherwise, I'm not doing business with you, right? Do you want to lose 75% of your business? No. The U.S. is 25% GDP of the entire world. Can you afford to be without the U.S.? No. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I want you to subscribe because he's a powerful man. Well, obviously he's a powerful man. It's not so much he's powerful himself, that the U.S. is a powerful country, and no one has ever used the U.S. the way he's doing it right now. But there's a price to be paid for that. And the price to be paid is, like what happened in Europe. Europe said, well, you're not protecting me anymore? I thought we were friends since World War II. You came over, you help us out. And so we have to protect ourselves. That's right. So we don't need you anymore. That's right. So yes, you may have saved some money by spending it to protect them, but there's a cost to be paid. Well, you know what? That's what I'm hearing, that the Canadian Prime Minister might not be as strong as they thought originally. There was an interesting article in the BBC had an interesting article on that, basically saying that they are a bit disappointed in him. Now, of course, no one likes Trump, so doesn't matter who it is, whatever he does, they say, well, as long as you're against Trump, it's good. People were fooled again. Well, yes, I mean, but that they say, well, I'm gonna take care of him. You cannot. What you need in front of Trump, you need a guy like Elon Musk, because he himself is not doing it for the money; he's doing it for something else, and that's why it could never work between the two of them, right? And that's why Elon Musk is gone. He realizes, my God, I thought we were working with a common goal. No, your goal is not my goal. Okay, you wanted to save money. I want to make money. I want to make a lot of money. And he said, working, I'm making 300 billion. And he's walking around. I think it is all planned for a new system. Yeah, this is what this channel is about, right? We're trying to figure out what's really going on, what is happening. Because most of the time, and this is why channels like mine are very important, because you get to have a different view. What are the people really thinking? It's important to know what the people are thinking. Because if you don't know what the people are... Well, we're not alone. Wow, I thought the fire was going to take the studio over. Anyway, we're back. We're back, and this is the beauty of life. Yeah, I mean that's the question, right? What is going to be the ultimate implication of all of these interaction between the people and the power to be? You know, what's really going on? And obviously, these people are not going to tell you what's going on, right? They're not going to tell you. You say, well, you know what? Let me turn on. Look at the cell drug she is in that. Take a look at you know what you're listing on Bloomberg and CNBC and all these channels. What are they telling you? Well, they're telling you what you want to hear, right? If you listen to Bloomberg, then they tell you what you want to hear on Bloomberg, and you don't want to hear good. Most of the time, it's not very good to Trump, and the other way. So basically, what you want to make sure is, you want to make sure that you understand everything that's happening at all time, and that, my friend, is what's happening.